You had a bombshell article yesterday about the would-be assassin of President Trump, and you threaded in there a little piece about some of his fetishes. Maybe he was entertaining a furry fetish, referred to himself with they them pronouns. Tell us more,
Mhm.
Miranda Devine.
It's slim pickings. My source went through 17 different online platforms that he found that this would-be assassin of the president, Thomas Crooks, had logged into or had accounts with. And one of them was this site called Deviant Art, which I had not heard of before, but apparently it's the biggest online hub for furry activity, the furry community, which of course is this kind of sexual fetish where people dress up as animals or they like cartoon figures of sort of humanized animals that have sex or are nude. I mean, some of it, I think some of it's not sexual, but most of it seems to be. Anyway, it's weird, and so this guy Thomas Crooks had two accounts on this platform, and he also on this platform used they them pronouns. The only thing my source could find, activity of Thomas Crooks that still existed on that platform or on the archive was an image of a sort of bizarre cartoon image of a very muscle-bound sort of man's body, like a Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger type body, with the head of a woman on top, long hair and a female face, and with this puny little guy next to her in his underpants, and who looked kind of like Thomas Crooks, sort of in a sort of a inferior position, if you get my drift.
Sure.
So there's that. And then the other stuff he had on this DeviantArt platform was violent. It was cartoon characters shooting each other in the head, killing each other. I mean, that's all very strange. All of his utterances that are on YouTube and so on are increasingly very weird, that he flips from being very pro-Trump and anti-Democrat, particularly anti, the Squad, Ilhan Omar, and so on. And then he flips in the matter of a couple of months in January 2020 to the opposite, does a 180, and now he's very anti-Trump, critical of Trump supporters, and starts escalating into this assassination rhetoric.
Hey, Miranda, Blake here, and I guess the thing that came to mind with the article yesterday, so you mentioned the weird furry art or just kind of strange art in general, but the article doesn't have any photos of that. Is there a reason that choice was made, or is it no longer available and we only know by implication?
No, I actually tweeted out the one of the images, and then my colleague Josh Christensen did a follow up today with all of the images from my sources research. So all those violent cartoon figures, I think there's about 3 images of that, and then the muscle bound. I can't remember. Josh called it something like muscle mummy or something, and we published that today. So that's in the New York Post today.
So, Miranda, there was a congressional report released in December 2024 that did not include a lot of this social media activity. Do we know why that this was not mentioned in that congressional report in December of 2024?
That's a really good point, because this was something that really disturbed my source and set him to continue to investigate and also try to get this into the hands of people who would do something about it. He's very concerned that the public doesn't know why the assassination attempt happened, and that it could escalate. And, if, I mean, we're told by the FBI currently that Crooks acted alone. This is what Kash Patel has said just in a tweet online, where he ran through all the inputs that the FBI put into the investigation, which I think is frankly quite meaningless. We followed up 14,000 tips, or we, did 10,000 interviews, whatever they did. He had all the metrics, but that's the inputs. What's the outputs? What came of all that effort? And all he does at the end is this conclusion that we've concluded that he acted alone. So my source just thinks there's something more to this, and so therefore he pursued it. And the fact that that congressional report had nothing about the online activity would be because the FBI didn't share that with them. The only sort of time that I guess the FBI under Christopher Wray, just in the 2 weeks after the Butler events, Christopher Wray, a week later, testified to Congress. He said, there's no, we've searched our database and there's nothing about Thomas Crooks before Butler, right? Very carefully that he said that. Now, I asked the FBI when I was doing this story last week a number of questions. And the most important one, I think, was, did you have any contact with Thomas Crooks? Did the FBI have any contact with Thomas Crooks before Butler? Did anyone, report him to the FBI? Did you pay him a visit? Did you knock on his door? Were you aware of his online activity? Does he appear anywhere? And all I got back was no comment from the FBI. And, they've not been forthcoming with Congress. Senator Ron Johnson has been really angry about this, angry about the fact that even the Trump FBI, 12 months after Butler, in July of this year, has not complied with his oversight requests. He wants camera footage, he wants documents, he wants forensics, autopsy, etc. And he says he's been stonewalled by the FBI and the Secret Service. And I don't understand why that is. If it's as clear and simple as Kash Patel is telling us that, just this lone gunman acting alone, etc., why be secretive about his online activity? Why did Deputy Director Paul Abate, who was Wray's Deputy Director at the FBI, why did he testify to Congress 2 weeks after Butler and say only half the story? He described Thomas Crooks' online activity leading up to when he flipped and became anti-Trump, when he was anti-Semitic and sort of expressing sort of far-right views. But Paul Abate didn't tell Congress, and I think this is lying by omission, that in January of 2020, this kid flipped and became rabidly anti-Trump and started then with his violent assassination rhetoric. Why did Paul Abate leave that out? That was deliberate misleading of Congress. And the question is, why? And why does Kash Patel not be more forthcoming? And look, the president is not satisfied. His family is not satisfied. So something doesn't add up here.
I've talked about Patriot Mobile's commitment to faith, family, and freedom. But have you made the switch yet? Support your values with your cell phone without sacrificing quality or service. Worried about coverage? Don't be. Patriot Mobile uses all 3 major U.S. networks. If you have cell phone service today, you can get service with Patriot Mobile. Think switching is hard? It's not. Their 100% US-based team can activate your phone within minutes. They even have a contract buyout. So go to patriotmobile.com/Kirk25 or call 972-PATRIOT today. Promo code Kirk25 for a free month of service. Well, there's a lot that doesn't add up. I mean, you've got the fact that Christopher Wray told Congress on July 24th, 2024, 11 days after the shooting, that the Bureau did not have any prior information about the shooter, and now they're saying no comment. So, why wouldn't they either just confirm what Christopher Wray said or add additional context, right? Because, and the other thing that doesn't add up, the sort of big E on the eye chart, as it were, Miranda, is that there's apparently zero social media footprint from this kid from 2020 to 2024. He just disappeared. Like we're supposed to just conclude that a young man who had 19 profiles apparently that you guys investigated and have data on, that they all just went away.
Yeah, it's very strange. From August of 2020, just after his most violent post or comment, when he's talking about assassinating political leaders and military leaders, he goes dark. He just disappears. The other thing that happened around that time after which he disappeared was he started to have communications with a figure called Willie Tepes, which I don't believe is his real name, but it's what he used when he interacted with Thomas Crooks. And Willie Tepes is a neo-Nazi involved with a Norwegian neo-Nazi group that has since been designated a terrorist organization by the State Department. They did that designation in June of 2024, a month before Butler. I'm not sure if, I mean, that's probably just a coincidence, but Willie Tepes sort of seemed to encourage this violent rhetoric from Thomas Crooks. He would say things like, Maoist phrases like, you can only achieve anything through the muzzle of a gun, a phrase that Crooks loved to repeat. And so shortly after that, Crooks goes dark. And I've been told by, people in the intelligence agencies that that there's no way that this Norwegian neo-Nazi terrorist would not have been on the radar of the CIA. And if that were the case, the CIA would inform the FBI of any interactions that he had with an American citizen. And, you can say, oh, well, this stuff happened online. How would the FBI know? Well, again, I've talked to FBI people, including a very high-ranking former FBI agent whose name appears as the alias that that Thomas Crooks used on his PayPal account, Rod Swanson. He's a very senior former FBI guy, was in Vegas, was running criminal investigations for the state of Nevada after he left the FBI and during the time of the Las Vegas mass shooting. That, again, is someone who's disappeared offline, has no friends, another mystery, no motive found, similar to Thomas Crooks, although he's in his 60s.
There's so many unanswered questions. I guess if you're going to sum this up for us, Miranda, we've got this weird online presence that just goes dark. He's referencing FBI investigators from Las Vegas massacre. What questions remain, and where do we go from here?
I'll just clear up one thing about Rod Swanson.
Yeah.
He was not investigating Las Vegas. He was at that point running criminal investigations for the state of Nevada. So he was peripherally involved, talking to victims and so on, but wasn't investigating it. He seems like a decent guy. He said to me, it's inconceivable that the FBI didn't knock on the door of this kid. So I think that's the big question is, did the FBI knock on the door, which everybody involved in law enforcement says would have had to have happened? Did they have some involvement with him because of this violent online rhetoric? How involved were they? And if they were involved, why aren't they telling us about it? Why is the Trump FBI just not commenting and going dark as well? Why aren't they giving us chapter and verse on what motivated this guy? Why is there so much secrecy in terms of the oversight by the Senate? Clay Higgins found a whole lot of other interesting and disturbing information, like, for instance, that they cremated the body soon after. Another source has told me that the toxicology isn't comprehensive as it should be. There's a lot of weird things, hosing the roof down, etc. I don't know why Kash Patel doesn't tell the American people exactly what's going on instead of just saying no comment.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and I remember the cremation of the body too, which is very suspicious. None of the I'll be honest, and I try to. Listen, having been the subject of some conspiracy theories more recently, I view them all with suspicion now because I will just tell you, there's like 1,000 mistakes that get made in every assumption that leads to conspiracy theories. So I try to be very cautious, conservative when approaching these things, but it does seem true that some of this stuff just seems just like there's massive gaping holes in this story, and you would think the FBI would be, especially with the turnover of administrations, they would be motivated to clear some of this up.